So I was out there on the canoe, like fishing with a spear like I always do, and I think maybe a water spirit was mad at me because a big wave took me down, man. I don't know what I did. Maybe I was spearing too many fish?
Oh, you got to look out for that. Water spirits are tough, man. Land spirits aren't so bad if you don't, go up any hills or whatever.
Yeah, tree spirits can be kind of a hassle. Branch falls on you or whatever. Maybe the fruit doesn't grow.
Yeah. Do you think, you speared too many fish, or should we maybe put some land animals in the ocean or something to balance it out?
Well, that wave came out of nowhere, man. Really, it was a real nice day. But there wasn't, a big storm or anything, and sharks didn't eat me, so I don't know. Maybe it was just messing around,
I don't know, but I think you got to sacrifice, a peccary or something.
Yeah, or maybe a pig. I could do a pig thing.
Mm-hmm. And, actually probably maybe no fishing for a second. Let's just do fruit.
I just had a new baby. Just fruit. My wife's not really going to go for that.
Yeah, what? Actually, dude, it's fat grub season, so we should be fine.
Oh, true. Okay. Better safe than sorry, I guess. Oh, shit. What's that?
Maybe over here?
Yeah.
Oh!
Ugh.
Oh, thank God I found you.
Ugh.
Noble savages, hear me.
Who the fuck is this now?
I don't know. Is it a spirit? Is it a spirit? Maybe a bush spirit or something?
Fuck. I don't know. Should we stab it?
The Lord God has sent me to you to spread the good word of Christ. Your salvation is at hand, beautiful creatures. Fear not. Join me in the love of God above.
Do you understand what he's saying?
Oh, no idea. I'm going to finish this raw piranha and then let's stab him.
Okay. Yeah. Let's stab him. Whew. Close call. Oh, I know. I'll toss this guy in the ocean.
Hey-o, that's the ticket. Oh, I think I'm coming down with something.
Oh, fuck, me too. Well, let's toss this weirdo in the ocean and go sleep nude communally with every member of our tribe.
Yeah, cool. My dick itches. Welcome back, everybody, to Delete Everything Podcast. Gather around, you naked, undiscovered, uneducated masses, while we show you the modern miracles of handguns and iPhones. I am your gun guy, Patrick Wall, and in the booth next to me, as always, ready to sign your entire tribe up for a singular wireless family plan, my co-host,
Riley Bowen.
He's the phone guy.
Hey, you buy the plan, and then we'll hire you to dig up the minerals that we need to make the phones.
We are here to fill in the blanks of your brain. I'm gonna say that one over.
That sucked.
We are here to fill in your blanks with all of the forgotten, unknown, omitted, and partial histories that no one ever bothered to teach any of us, really. So, as always, massive thanks to any of you listening who took the time to review us, rate us, leave us a comment on Spotify. If you are listening and you haven't done that, well, we sure would appreciate it if you did.
Do it.
We work pretty hard on this little show, and if you're a regular listener, the best way to show us love is to tap those three little dots on whatever you're streaming on and leave us the things that tell us how much you like us. We've also got Instagram at Delete Everything Podcast, where you can see corresponding photos of this or any other episode. We've got episodes and a little bit of video content on YouTube. More video stuff to come. If there's a topic or topics that you think we should cover, please reach out to us at our email, deleteeverythingpodcast@gmail.com. And finally, if you listen to all of our episodes, first off, cool. Thank you. You're not totally done yet, though. We've got 30 plus more episodes on Patreon. We give you guys a bonus episode every week on that, and it's not as historically in-depth. It's frequently a little bit more topical info. It's definitely a lot crazier. They're usually about 45 minutes or so long, and they are unhinged.
Yeah, some wild stuff in there.
But they're also a goddamn laugh riot, so come see us there. Also, I don't know, tell your friends if you like the show. We like new people. So that's that. We're gearing up for Father's Days next weekend. And
Is it?
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't have to do shit. My
No, you
dad's
don't. Yeah.
dead. Thank God.
Oh, my I'm not going to do shit because I'm a father. So my father has passed the torch. He doesn't get shit.
I'm a father too. I'm hoping that my kid forgets so that I can shame her and make that like an integral part of her like growing up process.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Guilt is always.
That's a good one. You gotta get it out. Maybe I'll do like a pathetic, like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah, just a constant sort of instilled guilt is always good.
I know it's my job as a dad.
Listen, that's how I grew up, and I turned out fine. The number of people who say that who did not turn out fine. Yeah,
no, I'm making a joke.
By the way, quick before we jump into like how our weeks went, all that shit. There was I don't know who noticed and who didn't. There was this week or this last week a delay with the Revolutionaries, the Joseph Stalin episode. We're apologetic about that. That wasn't on our end. That was a software issue, and we're not entirely sure what happened, but it was delayed by probably about 5.5, 6 hours before it came out when it was supposed to. But
so if you were one of those listeners who's up just pacing at midnight,
yeah, waiting,
you wake up at 4 a.m. You're like, where the fuck is my episode?
It comes out at like 9 p.m. West Coast time.
Oh, I guess you're right.
So
well, they get the early preview.
Yeah. So they get a little, a little sneak peek. But yeah, so sorry about that. Apologies that we're trying to figure out what happened. It also did a weird thing the week before with the Trimates episode. Like it released it early for a second and Drew had to take it down. But in that time, somebody downloaded it and got like a sneak peek like a couple days early.
Oh yeah, we had one download from the future.
Basically.
That's cool.
Yeah, we're having some weird issues with the software that posts our podcast on all these streaming services. So sorry about that. Also, quick explanation on the Stalin thing, because we didn't do it as a whole. I felt afterward, and you and I talked about this briefly, that once we got past like revolutionary Stalin, once he was in power, we kind of just like grazed over the rest of it.
Yeah, it's like, and then there's massacres and there's some atrocities.
But yeah, the whole thing was like
yada his entire like genocide career.
Well, but the whole thing with it, because this is going to be a series of revolutionaries, right? And we really wanted to focus on young Stalin. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, I could have made that probably a 5-part, podcast series if I wanted to, just on Joseph Stalin.
It's part of
I wanted to do his whole life. But
it was like a good precursor to my young adult fiction series that I'm writing, The Adventures of Young Stalin. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be released on Scholastic Press.
Hell yeah. Nice. But yeah, so just wanted to clarify that. Like, there may be some time when we do like more Stalin stuff vis-a-vis the whole World War II end and post that, but this was really more like looking at revolutionaries and what they did and what caused them to sort of fall into that and how they achieved these big revolutionary ideas of theirs. So I just wanted to clarify that. That being said, how was your week, bud?
Oh, my week?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I'm actually not entirely sure. I have had...
This was a weird week for me, too. I don't remember much of it.
Well, ever since... Like, I went to the dentist a couple of weeks ago when we were last recording.
And now I don't remember who I am.
Kinda. I had a tooth infection, right? So he gave me a prescription for amoxicillin. You got to take 4 a day. I've taken them, and like not even... Because I've taken amoxicillin before. I had no ill effects whatsoever. But this time around, I don't know if there's just like different makeup or maybe my diet's been weird, but I've had the whole run of side effects that they talk about, like fatigue, nausea, headache, like
weird.
The whole thing. I've just been in like a
Is
weird
there fentanyl
fog.
in your amoxicillin?
Because like it's
Are
not
they cutting up the amoxicillin on the same table they just did the fentanyl?
It's not nearly bad enough for me to like not go to work or whatever, but like part of my job is pretty thinky, and I have to like take notes and make scheduling and write stuff down, and I haven't been able to do any. My brain has just not been working. Doing the research for this episode of stuff.
It was a weird week for me. Also, just like the last few weeks have been crazy busy because we've been doing a night construction.
Yes,
job
we've
too,
also been doing a night job. See,
like,
I forgot that we were doing that. That's how weird my fucking week has been.
I will say the last time that I had to take amoxicillin, which is a year and a half or so ago, I had for the first time ever also something similar. It would give me like the most gut-wrenching pain and like, the things that happen on the ass end of that, literally. And, my mother's a retired nurse. My sister is a dentist, so I was like complaining about it. And my mom's like, are you taking it with food? And I'm like, I mean, if I happen to have eaten just then, And she's like, you're supposed to take it with food. And I'm like, I've never had to do that. Like, I know it says it on the label. I've never had to do that.
It kind of says on the label, like, yeah, you could or whatever.
Yeah, you should. So I adjusted it, and I was like, okay, well, let me take the rest of this prescription and make sure that like I eat right before I do it. No problems. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
I guess that's sort of been my problem too. I guess just like black coffee and pizza isn't the best diet.
No.
When you're taking amoxicillin like 7 in the morning.
Oh my God. Did they give you the one that you have to take like 3 times a day?
4 times. So I got
4 times a day? That's terrible. Yeah, I think the last time they gave it to me, that was like 3 times a day. And I'm like, okay, every 8 hours. That means that one of these dosages is going to be extremely inconvenient for my fucking schedule. Mm-hmm. But anyway.
How's your week been?
Busy. One of our neighbors handed Allison a stray kitten yesterday. So we have this adorable little black kitten. Mm-hmm. It's really fucking cute, and it's really like already cozied up to us. But like, I didn't want that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bummer when you have to kill it with a machete.
I'm not gonna do that. I would probably just give it to somebody, I think.
Well, it's gonna get less cute by the day, so you should hurry up
and give it to somebody.
Yeah, dude, a fucking 10-week-old cat. No one wants that shit. Yeah, no one wants a little itty baby kitten. Oh,
yeah, this baby's about like 6-7 weeks old.
Yeah, you gotta get like 2 more weeks, and then it's just like, I don't fucking want an adolescent cat.
Yeah, it's really fucking cute. I hate it. But
you ate it?
No, I said I hate it.
Ah.
I love it, but I hate that I love it.
Because I know you have a history of eating the cat.
Wow. I'm going to shut my mouth because that's...
not what I heard.
I heard you shut your mouth around cats. So today's episode is about uncontacted tribes. A tricky subject, even for those of us who like sifting through, the darkened corners of unknown history. And it is tricky because there isn't much info on any of these tribes because they're fucking uncontacted. So just to clarify, right out the gates, the meaning of uncontacted, quote unquote, doesn't necessarily mean that no one has ever. Like, doesn't necessarily mean, I guess, no one's ever been, nobody's ever been around them, right?
Right.
A lot of the remaining uncontacted tribes in the world, of which there are a little over 100, is the best estimate, have had people who live in, I guess, what we'd refer to as modern civilized societies visit and talk and try to understand how they live. Some of them have been around film crews who have gotten footage of them and document how they live.
Yeah, famously Werner Herzog.
Yeah. The only thing that makes an uncontacted tribe, again, quote unquote, uncontacted, is a decision to knowingly and actively avoid contact with the aforementioned modern civilized society. And the reasons why they do that vary in complexity. Frankly, we don't even know why in a lot of cases. So that's basically that. They've made a decision that they are going to be the way they are, live tribally, and not be part of everything else going on.
I thought it was when they'd never seen an optometrist, so they hadn't been able to get contact lenses.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you so much. So, for my first tribe, I had to do it as a Brazilian citizen, as a prideful Brazilian man who respects and reveres nature. I've got an uncontacted tribe from the Amazon, which, I mean, honestly, most of the remaining uncontacted tribes are in the Amazon. So
you're going to keep stumbling over uncontacted tribe the whole episode. I could feel it.
Probably.
Uncontacted
tribes.
Contracted tribes.
Contractually obligated.
Tribes called Quest.
Yeah, most of the uncontacted fuck. I went into it hard thinking I'm going to nail it, and I didn't.
That's what she said.
Most of the uncontacted tribes are in the Amazon, so it probably wasn't likely that we were going to avoid doing any of them anyway. So in terms of the most uncontacted, most isolated, truly untouched by modernity, the Amazon is kind of it. And then North Sentinel Island, which you're doing. And those two kind of stand alone. Papua New Guinea, to a lesser extent, has a lot, but they've had a bit more contact with the outside world. And that about wraps up where you'll find uncontacted tribes, honestly.
Yeah. That we know of, center of the earth, maybe.
Whoa. Damn, Hollow Earth, dog? Agartha?
Agartha Brooks.
Agartha Brooks. Agatha Christie. We did this already.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I don't remember when.
No, you said Hollow Earth Dog, and I was like, that sounds like a superhero. I don't know what that.
We did that same joke, the Agartha Brooks, Agatha Christie on pseudoscience. I remember now.
It all blurs together.
Sure does.
We're running out of things to say.
That's not true.
That's
You
not true.
clearly haven't looked at our list of topics. We're not going anywhere, fuckers.
Next week, Mucinex. What is it, and why are we?
Listen, if you subscribe to our Patreon, you will hear a whole thing that we discussed that was possibly sponsored by a gas medication.
Beano?
Beano.com, yeah.
Next week, the history of shoes. Where are shoes from, and why are we wearing them on our feet?
Why? Shoes. I don't know. That's it.
If shoes have soles, can Jesus save them?
I don't like that.
Shoe will save your soul.
Anyway, I want to talk about the Kawahiva tribe.
Is that like a motorcycle?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Kawahiva tribe, it's got a 1350, dude. It fucking rips. I'm looking at a 2026 Kawahiva tribe. Yeah, it comes out in September. I think I'm gonna get one. I don't have any money to put down on it. I'm gonna get like
that's right, zero down.
Yeah. I went to the dealership. They told me they could give me 72 months at 14%, and my payments will only be $700 a month for 6 years, which I'll never survive because it's got a 1350 in it, and I live in Florida where people drive like maniacs.
What's fun is every word
Goddamn
that you just said
road out there
contained a concept that the Kawahiva tribe would not understand.
I feel like where we're sitting right now, what we're doing right now,
the whole thing's like,
how we got here today, what we talked about doing all week.
I routinely talk about how we're living in the age.
Amoxicillin, what is that?
Fuck. I routinely talk about how we're living in the age of magic, and that nobody in our stupid piece of shit society can appreciate that. It goes along with my theory that lightning is ghosts, but in general, so many magical things are happening all the time. Just, hey, me, right now, talking into this magic tube that makes my voice go into your ear holes in a different time and place.
That's recording on a box that Drew then gets to, change however he wants.
It's all insane and powered by ghosts.
And then it flies through the world. The whole world.
This shit was magic in the 1920s. Guglielmo Marconi figured out radio waves.
The whole world gets to listen to it if they want.
Yeah, so you try and... Though I will say there was a certain period of time where people thought, we still say this sometimes. You ever hear that, oh man, Mountain Dew Blast would kill a 13th century peasant?
Yeah.
We find out more and more as we influence these tribes. No, not so much. They go, oh shit. Mountain Dew.
Baja Blast is cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the Kawahiva tribe. Our best guess, this is from 2024, is that the tribe is about 35 to 40 people total, right? They live in the Amazon basin, obviously, in the Brazilian state of Mato Grosso, which is western central Brazil, right? They were only discovered by the rest of Western civilization, I guess, 26 years ago in 1999, the year that I graduated from high school. A gentleman named Jair Candor stumbled onto...
Star Wars name.
Jair Candor. That is kind of... He stumbled onto what was clearly an abandoned camp that consisted of 4 huts, some hunting blinds, and a fishing spot. So, if you know anything about the history of how tribes are treated in the rainforest, it's pretty much consistent with how tribes across the Western Hemisphere have been treated for the past several hundred years, since Europeans found them. Pretty consistent how they treat new tribes in the Amazon. Poorly is the word. Shittily.
Yeah, bad.
Extremely shittily.
Treated like subhuman or,
Pretty much after Europeans founded this whole, the Americas, any group of people who just wanted to be left the fuck alone to live harmoniously with the land, shittily.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
shittily treated. So
shittily diddly.
So when I started researching and I'm reading about Jair Candor finding this little camp, I was immediately like, oh God, great. Then what? Amazingly, in accordance with the law in Brazil, Jair recognized that this camp belonged to a tribe that was clearly living primitively, and he backed the fuck off and spent the last 26 years fighting for the tribe to be protected.
Oh shit, cool.
He's actually a fucking super stand-up dude. He actually just recently retired a few months ago after dedicating most of his life to Amazon conservation.
I really like that idea of you stumble into something like that and you're like, Oh shit! Now
Yeah.
this is like my responsibility.
I think he was already involved
Uh.
in sort of conservation, and he was already doing sort of conservation expeditions. But he was the first one to stumble and go, "What? This isn't not necessarily supposed to be here," and like recognized, okay, these are like tools made from like primitive tools made from shit you find in the forest. This
Pigs
is like
didn't make this.
So, like I said, 25 years ago, he comes across this camp. He realizes what it is. He backs away. He contacts conservation groups, and they just sort of keep an eye out, right?
I thought you were gonna say they just sort of ignore him.
Well, we'll get there. Don't worry. It is important to note that, unlike most uncontacted tribes, nobody from the Western world, at least not the part that lives a modern technological life, has ever spoken to this day to a member of the Kawahiva.
That's cool.
From what we know, from what we can tell, they avoid people entirely, including other tribes, right? They don't cultivate crops because that means you're kind of stuck in one place and easier to locate. They build communal sleeping houses. They hunt, they fish, they can collect, just forest nuts and berries and honey, etc. They have like they've found several spots where, these conservation guys that go out and make sure, because they do an expedition every couple of years,
right,
just to kind of gauge how the tribe's doing. And I'm not sure exactly what their process for collecting like beehives and honey is, but whatever it is, it's like really evident. Like they'll see it and be like, oh, Kawahiva, they were grabbing a beehive over here and collecting honey. So they're
because they see like a raincoat and a little umbrella, and they're like, oh, so they stood here and they were like, oh, tut tut, it must be rain.
Yeah.
Right. And then Winnie the Pooh comes in. Everybody know this reference? Sorry.
Is it Christopher Robin?
That's Christopher Robin, yeah.
So, if somebody gets too close, they can just leave all this shit behind and they could get all that stuff somewhere else in the forest.
Yeah, they all collectively have this like, fuck. They gotta get the fuck out of there.
Which makes them nearly impossible to find, right? The forest canopy is too thick to see them from above, and they're too in tune with the forest to sneak up on them. So we've got a couple of photos from forest cams, which is like, I don't know if you've looked at any of these. Probably not of my tribe. Maybe of some of the other ones, because you did a couple today too.
Yeah.
Some of these fucking camera like footage, like just still photos, like at least of the Kawahiva, like in some of the other Amazon tribes, where they get these this footage, and it's so fucking crazy to think, because it's got this very like
this is now.
It's got this very like Mel Gibson apocalypto feel to it, and you're like, this is now. These are now people.
Yeah, one of the tribes that I did a thing for, there's footage of a couple of hunters just in the jungle doing their thing that a neighboring tribe that is contacted and like has become more modernized caught with like a cell phone camera, but like the modernized tribe is still thinking of these this other tribe as like legends,
right?
And so they see them and they're like, oh fuck, they get a sneak footage of them.
That's so cool.
And these guys are just kind of like dicking around with bark, and then like one like just looks at the camera and like, god damn it, and then they fucking book it off into the jungle.
But it's like always so like every photo that I saw where they're like looking at the camera, it's like there's something so like unfrozen caveman about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
I'm
it's
just a simple caveman,
not that unfrozen caveman, not Phil Hartman,
right? Frightened and confused by this trail camera.
But yeah, we've got some photos from forest camps of the Kawahiva, and there's like one video that amazingly Jair Kandor took like years after he found them or found their camp. But when I first saw it, I saw the video footage, and it's like these people like walking, it's like maybe 5 of them walking, and there's a little kid, and he like points at the camera and says something, and then they like all turn around and like they all see it. I don't know if Jair Kandor was like up in a tree. It's coming. It's almost like elevated the way like the angle, and so I thought it was drone footage at first.
No, he's fucking hiding like the Predator. Yeah, they just turn like, oh shit, like, oh, let's get the fuck out of here. Why can you do that impersonation?
I don't know. I'm trying to. I can't.
God damn it! Stop it! Stop! Just do the podcast.
But when I saw it, I thought it was like drone footage, and I'm like writing my notes, and I'm like, can you imagine being like in an isolated tribe and seeing a fucking drone. Like, first of all, hearing it first, because I know that everyone has fucking heard that crazy like buzzing, that like sound, and you're like, what the fuck? And then you see this thing come up and you're like, what crazy ass forest demon do you think that is? Because we got to get the fuck out of here.
I honestly, like being a product of the 80s and 90s, like when I see a drone or I hear about drone stuff, I'm still like, this is the fucking weirdest future. Like this is dude,
Yeah.
like we're recording this the day after the Ukrainian drone strikes that hit the Russian field, which is like, we're not trying to be too topical here, but like, what a fucking insane thing
orchestrated,
just
like what, 4 different spots?
Yeah,
all
orchestrated
like
drones, hundreds of
across
them. Took out like 25% of the Russian Air Force.
A
Like,
big
that's
portion of the Air Force.
fucking crazy. Drones are bonkers, and I still see that shit. And I'm like, this is the weird future.
Yeah, and they
This
just
is-
came out of like covered trucks.
Yeah,
Like, they just
fucking
went to a bunch
crazy.
of locations with covered trucks.
So yeah, I
filled
can
with drones.
totally sympathize with tribes that are like, hey, what the fuck is that thing? Because we also talked a couple episodes
Because just
ago.
yesterday, some Russian guy was
It was
going,
like, hey,
hey,
what the fuck is that?
what the fuck is this thing?
What is some sort of balloon? That we were a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about
helicopter?
talking about how maybe this might be on the Patreon. We talked about the big Chinese light show with drones that was going on. I can't.
Did we
remember.
talk about that?
I can't remember exactly where it was in China, but it was there was a fucking gigantic, like 25,000.
Yeah, I
drones.
remember-
They're all doing this big light show with like pictures and
I
images.
remember the conversation.
They all do this
I didn't think
dance.
we were mic'd up for
And
it.
then there was some issue where they all just fell down, but they like descended, but they descended on the crowd real fast. It's like, boom.
Yeah, well, they
And all the
probably
videos are crazy.
probably use the same software we do to publish our podcast.
Hey,
Fuck you. I'm not going to say your name.
yeah, you want to get blacklisted?
Yeah, no, not yet. So I do want to jump back to them being able to abandon camps and still have plenty of rainforest to hunt and fish, because I made that point about even if they got to leave, they got plenty of hunting and fishing and harvesting of fruits and berries and things, right? I don't think that most people have a full appreciation of the Amazon rainforest. The entire Amazon basin is 2.7 million square miles.
That's a lot.
For reference, you know what? I want you to guess. I want you to guess comparatively something in the U.S., a state, a region. What do you think is comparable in the U.S., right, to 2.7 million square miles of the Amazon basin, right?
This dick.
Come on.
I don't know. 2.7 million square miles. Montana?
Okay. At a slightly larger 2.95 million square miles, right? That's a difference of what, 250K?
Okay.
The entire contiguous United States of America.
Holy fucking shit.
That is how big the fucking Amazon basin is, dude.
Goddamn.
Right? It spans 9 countries. 60% of it is in Brazil, but we've also got, let's see if I can name these off the top of my head. Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Venezuela. Did I say Colombia?
No.
Colombia, Guyana, French Guiana, Suriname, and Brazil.
Is it Suriname?
Suriname.
Thought it was Suriname.
No, Suriname.
Well, fuck.
Yeah, that's right. Hang on, let me do it. Brazil, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, Guyana, French Guiana, Suriname. I'm missing one somewhere.
Indigo Violet.
Anyway, maybe I said all of them, maybe I didn't. Bite me. So, obviously...
Anyway, shit's big.
Yeah, obviously, the Kawahiva have got... That's fucking nuts. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that's crazy big.
2.7 million square miles. Now, that's the entire Amazon River basin, which is the Amazon River and all of its tributaries. But basically, all of those are rainforest. Like, there aren't tributaries that like come out and like go through a fucking town or
Right.
Manaus. But it's nuts, dude. It's craziness.
That's pretty wild.
It is. So the Kawahiva, like I said, plenty of space to explore. And this is basically why uncontacted tribes do so well in the Amazon rainforest, right? There's huge areas of rainforest that are still unexplored to this day.
Tight.
There are huge parts of the Amazon that, like, conservationists and people who are in this business, biologists and fucking herbologists and all these people that like make their living kind of dealing with this jungle are like, yeah, nobody goes in there. That's too much. That's too dense.
That's where you get et.
Yeah. Not, it's either too deep, it's too far away from anything, it's too wild, there's no water there. Like, there are parts where they're like, nobody's there.
Interesting thing I found out about the Amazon actually as well, doing this research, not a particularly food-heavy jungle, especially for humans.
No.
Yeah, it's like it's not like just a fuckload of like edible anything, unless grubs, some fruit here and there, but it's
fruit,
like
some honey, some berries. You're not going to get much in the way of protein unless you're really good at fishing or hunting. And then, you can't just plop down there and be like a hunter or a fisherman here in the U.S.
Yeah, totally different.
It doesn't
world.
translate.
It'd be like going to an alien planet.
Well, that's like literally. That's like if I'm used to fishing offshore here, which I used to do all the time, and then I go to the Great Lakes.
Right.
That's a whole different thing, man. Anybody who fishes knows the different region, the different fish, there's so many factors. It doesn't translate. So you could be a fucking hell of a fisherman here. You drop in the Amazon rainforest and maybe you have some success, but it's going to take a lot of adjusting. It's not just okay, got it. I know how to fish. So
also you've got fucking yellow fever like immediately.
Or bot flies in your fucking arm like the girl that
I'm trying to eat, but I got bot flies coming out of my ass.
The German girl that survived the fucking plane crash. That's actually, to your point, she was lost in the Amazon for 11 days. What was her name?
I can't quite recall.
Catherine something.
I know Herzog did that movie better.
Yeah,
Catherine,
this was back in
he
was supposed to be on the same plane.
Yeah.
He did Wings of Fate, Wings of something.
The Wings.
On the Wings of Love.
It's On the Wings of Love.
He was supposed to be on that same flight as her. This was in the 70s. She was flying, I want to say, Peru to Germany, maybe, or maybe back. Either way, the plane got struck by lightning over the Amazon, fucking disintegrated. Her whole row of seats, so she was on a window seat, plus the two next to her, stayed together, and that's which I can't even imagine. She fell fucking 10,000 feet.
That's a lot.
And the theory is the reason she survived was, one, the fucking seats helicoptered the whole way, creating extra air resistance so she wouldn't hit terminal velocity falling.
Spun like Dorothy's house in the fucking Wizard of Oz.
Fucking imagine? And then...
The Wings of Hope is a 1998 made-for-TV documentary directed by Werner Herzog. Explores the story of Jolene Kopke, yeah. So she, not only that, when she hit the canopy, one, that saved her life because she hit it with the backs of the seats. Like if she had hit it face first, she would have been fucking impaled and dead. She still broke her collarbone, still I think broke an ankle, fucked a bunch of shit up, but survived and lived in the rainforest for 11 days before she was found by some locals. Floating the river and trying to catch dart frogs and shit to eat and couldn't. Shouldn't eat a dart frog.
You shouldn't eat a dart frog unless you know what you're doing. You can't eat a
unless
dart
you're
frog.
I want to fucking die.
Unless
here.
you know how to pull the poison gland out. But she was raised in the Amazon. Her parents were conservationists that worked in the rainforest. So she knew how to survive, but not injured and in the middle of the rainforest. Even people who have been through the rainforest will say, don't get lost. You will die.
Yeah.
You will fucking die if you got to stay with your group and you got to get, there has to be a consensus of this is the direction we go. This is the direction we stay. And we've got equipment, we've got compasses, we've got sat phones just in case, we've got this. If you get lost and you don't have that whole arsenal of shit, you're fucked. So
I think if I was ever, so we do our Amazon expedition. If I get off the trail, I'm going to set up camp right there where I realize I'm lost. I'm not moving a fucking inch from
Riley's
going to
have 8 flare guns tucked into his pants. He's just in case.
When I was a kid, my family went to Mammoth Caves in Kentucky. And even as a small child, 6 or 7 years old, I brought a bunch of sandwiches in case I got lost in the caves.
Oh god, what kind of sandwiches were they?
Tuna fish.
Nice.
Yeah, I kept.
That's not going to keep very long.
I kept 2 in the hood of my sweatshirt.
Should have gone with something more processed that'll keep for a while.
7, whatever.
Actually, canned tuna's pretty fucking processed.
It'll work for a while.
Yeah,
if I fell, I thought if I fell down.
The mayonnaise is what I worry.
If I fell down the bottomless pit, you fall in a bottomless pit, you die of starvation.
Right.
So
you nipped that right in the bud.
Exactly. No, I got tuna fish. I was also a big Calvin and Hobbes fan, so I was just tuna fish sandwiches. That's where it's at.
Well, so back to this. Speaking of areas of the rainforest that are too deep and too far away and thusly unexplored and uninhabited, what's crazy is a few years back, they do plane surveys frequently for a number of reasons to find illegal logging, illegal ranching, signs of tribal settlement, stuff like that, right? And just like think about policing conservation in an area the size of the contiguous fucking United States of America.
Well, it's impossible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Logistically, it's a nightmare.
Because like I did a little bit of a dive on that too, because what we're talking about is almost all conservation based, really.
Yeah.
So like, imagine you come across a settlement and it's just there. Fucking, you didn't.
Like Jair.
It has not been cleared with any government. It hasn't nothing.
Yeah.
But it's not like these are just murderers with hammers or some shit. That's like families have just
Yeah,
set up.
100%.
They've been living here for like a year.
Right.
Do you burn down their huts and fucking kick them out and be like, hey, go find another fucking place to jungle, assholes?
Are you an illegal logger or are you Jair Kandor?
Yeah, what the fuck?
That's why when I read Jair Kandor stumbled across the thing, I was like, oh, God damn it, here we go.
Right.
The horrors begin.
Yeah, that's when we talk about Amazon conservation, one of the massive issues with that is that it's not always like illegal logging, it's like settlements.
Yeah.
A lot of farmers have to clear some land so their cattle
It's
can graze and
ranching.
shit.
Yeah, it's ranching. So traditionally what happens is the loggers come through and they don't do it in big swaths all the time per se. They'll just take a meter this way for like miles.
Yeah.
And then the ranchers come and they just move the posts.
Move it just a little bit. Now I just got I got another meter here.
You're just peeling layers,
bit by bit.
layers. And so, and again, just the sheer volume of how much there is to police the conservation. And not only that, the Brazilian government, we've talked about the bureaucracy, there's a lot of corruption. So, it's problematic all around. But so yeah, back to my point. So they were doing a plane survey a few years back, and they were over this area of rainforest that's definitely unexplored and definitely uninhabited, right? And again, this is just an area in the middle of nowhere that there have never been signs of human life whatsoever. While this plane is flying low, surveying the jungle, it starts being hit by arrows and rocks and shit. And they can't see anything other than just projectiles flying up from like a canopy of green. And they're like, oh, well, shit, I guess there's a tribe down there. No idea how or who or why. But like, that's how fucking unreal this wilderness is.
So we just mentioned Werner Herzog and like the plane situation, right? Well, the movie he's flying out of was Gira, Wrath of God.
Sure, yeah.
Which, one of my favorite movies. We talked about this before. In that movie, one of the things is it's conquistadors, right? And they're being attacked by Amazon tribes a lot. You never see almost any tribesmen ever, but they are just consistently being hit by like darts and arrows.
That's
darts
crazy.
and arrows. Like you never fucking see anyone.
So badass.
That's the whole movie.
Probably reality.
And it's one of the most terrifying things. It's like literally at any point they could be on the river, they could be walking around, and they're just being tap 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 tap. Like
realistically, probably what happened.
Just machine gunned by a wall of arrows real quick, and then it goes away.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I mean, dude, it's fucking nuts, man. Like just the thought of like, and also at that time, the general thinking is that there were like tens of thousands of tribes, all individual tribes with, similar languages in some instances, completely different languages in other instances that had sort of loose affiliations and, kind of like when we did the West and we were talking about the different Native American tribes.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I'm gonna plug that book I'm reading a little bit.
Oh, okay, cool. But yeah, so similar to that, where you have all these tribes. Some of them are affiliated, some of them are pleasant with one another, some of them don't like each other. There's a whole ecosystem of tens of thousands of tribes and millions of people.
Yeah, in the Amazon, a slightly different situation, though I would say, because you could feasibly, even with that many people, live in the Amazon as a tribe of like 100 people and still never encounter fucking anyone for like a long time.
Yeah. So, and I know, like what's funny to me is, when I started doing this research, like the natural inclination coming from, the modern times that we all live in and looking at people who live so primitively, like I think there's a part of most of us that thinks that it would be kind of incredible to live that simply, and not have to like, I don't gotta.
Very popular concept in general.
Yeah, just live off the land. I think a lot of people, there's sort of a romantic idea of being able to do that.
Yeah.
And then there's that part of us that thinks like thinks of how these people don't know what phones are or cars or washing machine or fucking popcorn is. And that seems insane.
I think part of the conversation about uncontacted tribes is very ambiguous on the moral stance that you want to take.
Oh, 100%.
Because, like, on one hand, you don't want to fuck up their what could be considered idyllic nature. On the other hand, like, the being deprived of calzones, man. You never had hot, like, hot, like, feta pita.
Yeah.
They're out there just eating fucking fruit off a tree.
You never had a gyro from Tunis? Oh, shit, dude.
Fucking eating fruit off a tree.
But we know.
You've never, like, jacked off in bed while you're eating ice cream? What nightmarish hell existence is this?
But we know what happens, too, when we
you come.
know, especially with... We've got plenty of, experience with contacting in North America, previously uncontacted tribes, and just the disease alone is enough to fucking wipe out 90% of the population.
There's the biggest deal with all of this is that I find this fascinating, and this comes up consistently. Like, disease is always going to be an issue all across the board, because so when I lived in New York, I caught what is called like the sick. It's like major city sick. You just are going to eventually catch some disease.
There's just so many fucking
city.
people in such a small.
You're going to catch
area,
something, but what it acts as kind of like a booster shot, and then you probably won't catch that sickness again,
right.
because you just let everything in at once, and your body kind of like heats up. And
but you also have enough natural sort of
because you already
immunization from other similar things. Yeah.
Well, the thing is now with like the advent of air travel, international travel. Shipping, food, fucking. You watch that show, The Last of Us? Or,
yeah.
They posit that there was like the mold spores grew in grain that was being shipped out from a central point, and it spread through food.
Sure.
Yeah. So with all of our shipping, all these you can be as sanitary as you want. The shipping is going to eventually reach a point where everyone gets the same diseases all the time. This is one of the big issues with COVID.
Right.
So we are all inoculated against a basic. You call it like a societal disease.
Unless you're isolated.
Unless you're ultra isolated.
Yeah.
So any single person that is not from an isolated tribe in the Amazon going in there, even if you feel completely fine, could be the absolute death of all of them.
100%. 100%. So there's this third thing, though, that I started leaning on as I did this, and that is this jungle is dangerous. It's one of the most dangerous wildernesses in the world. About 1,000 people die in the Amazon every year that we know of, right? These are people who live like we do, and they have others on the outside waiting for them to come home. Those are the people that we know died. You know what I mean? So minimal stats. That's not including the 400 indigenous tribes that we know. Maybe we have some stats on that.
Or even if you're a modern society person, but you're living like way out on the fringes in that area, or homesteading or something, which is very common now in Amazon.
It is. And even some of the tribes that are modernized to some degree. Right. And we would have some stats on that.
Say you live nearby, but you got bit by a snake or something. Like, you're not going to go into the stats of like killed by the Amazon.
Right.
So there's minimal stats.
But like, think about like the 80-something uncontacted tribes that are estimated to be out there. We have zero stats on that. We don't fucking know.
Right.
When they die, how they die, any of that shit. Right?
That is a good question. With like a tribe living in a place like that, how often do you have to like repopulate like consistently?
Dude, think about that brings me to this third thing, right?
Because they just out they fucking.
Right, yeah. So outside of, it would be cool to live like that. Oh my God, they don't know what phones and fucking popcorn is. To like what it takes to live out there primitively. That is, I mean, think about what it takes to live in the Amazon. By the way, naked.
Yeah, you got to get your titties out. That's how they repopulate all the time. All the titties are always out.
Yeah, I mean, well, I will say I go real quickly from like feeling bewildered that they don't know what a microwavable pot pie is, or the microwave, or the utensils that you use, or the fucking sink and running water that you use to clean up afterward, to feeling like the only reason these people wouldn't be able to live in a modernized world, not that they even want to, but the only reason is that the rest of us would make their fucking life hell.
Yeah.
And they'd be marginalized and relegated to poverty, like every single fucking tribe that modernizes is. And these are probably some of the fucking toughest motherfuckers in the world.
Yeah, it's true. You never hear about like this tribe got into society, and now they all have a bunch of money and they're doing real good.
And they're showing everybody else how to fucking
Everything's
live.
fun. They've all got Nintendos. It's usually like, they have to do the same shit now so that they can recreate what they were doing in the jungle for tourists.
Yeah, well, they go work on some fucking bullshit plantation where they get bullshit money and they've got bullshit housing. And it's like, what was the point, man? We were better off living in the jungle. Just honey and berries and fish and peccaries.
Right.
That's it. So,
but they're like, I don't know, the new Sex and the City series just dropped, so I gotta stay out of
they don't say that. They don't. Somebody comes in and goes, "Oh, have you guys not heard of Sex and the City? Let me show you."
No, I'm saying, like, the ones that have been out of the jungle for a minute, they're like, I guess we could just go back, but also,
I'm such a Samantha.
It's like, such a Samantha. I don't know if my shoes will take it.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so back to Mr. Kandor, Jair Kandor, right? I've actually got a cool story. I told you that he just retired, like, I think December of last year, 24.
Okay.
I've got a cool story about his last expedition. Like I said, I think in December before he retired. Like I said earlier, every couple of years they take an expedition into Kawahiva territory to see if they can spot signs that the tribe is healthy and doing well. Right? And there are very strict rules about not interacting with them, keeping away. Interaction is dangerous for all parties involved, right?
This setup that you've got here, what you're talking about, is my absolute least favorite and possibly most racist way to start a horror movie, actually. You ever see The Green Inferno or Cannibal Holocaust?
You know the answer. The answer.
Is that no? You haven't seen this?
No.
Not even when you were like a teenager? You were like, oh, this movie's supposed to be the most intense? Cannibal Holocaust is like widely regarded as... You know the lore around that?
No.
Okay, so... I can't remember the name of this fucking director. Like, very famous Argento? Deodato. So the director Deodato did a found footage film in the 70s called Cannibal Holocaust that, like, the advertising around it was very strongly like, this is a real movie, to the point that, like, he went into hiding. All the actors and him went into hiding after it was released, so that people would think, like, oh my God, it's like a documentary. But it's a very, like, they go to Papua New Guinea or something, and it's a very...
if it's cannibalistic.
It's a very rape and murder, cannibal fucking tribe thing. But they use realistic violence. They, like, kill animals on screen and shit. It's very, very, very gnarly.
Jesus.
But it perpetuates a lot of weird, like, racist myths about, like, cannibalism and primitive tribes and stuff.
Cool.
And then recently, Eli Roth... It's not that recently, 10 years ago. Eli Roth, who's a big fan of Deodato's, he did the movie The Green Inferno.
Okay.
Which is another kind of like reinforcing the cannibalist stereotypes. But he also hired fucking tribes in the Amazon to work on the set, which is kind of cool.
Well, I've got actually some information on my next tribe that we're going to go into some cannibalism. But
sometimes you got to eat a motherfucker.
Well, hold that thought. So, like I said, every couple of years they take this expedition into Kawahiva territory, and the rules are very strict, right? Not to interact. Like I said, interaction is dangerous for everybody involved, right? Because you might get shot with a fucking arrow, poison-tipped arrow, or they might inhale your fucking stank germs and die and cause the whole fucking tribe to die, right? So they went into the jungle. Just to reiterate the danger of the Amazon jungle, the last man on the expedition, like the guy in the back of the expedition, right, is always one of the most seasoned veterans, because falling, and this was something that I read in this article, falling behind by as little as 30 seconds can mean separation. And if you talk to anybody who's been there, separation is almost certainly death. Right. So Kandor and a handful of other conservationists, they find some things, right? They find an abandoned sleeping house, some baskets. They find a child's footprint on the bank of the river. By the way, they're not on the Amazon River proper. Their territory is on the Rio Pardo, which is part of the Amazon basin.
It's Pardo, the Amazon?
I could have said Rio Pardo. And then what would you say, huh?
I'd have said, huh?
So on the third day, they make camp, right? They've been in the Amazon 3 days. Third afternoon, late afternoon, they make camp. And Kandor knows that this is super close to where the Kawahiva were the last expedition that he did 2 years ago, right? So he's like, everybody be quiet. They could be close. And we're not supposed to get too close. So everybody just chill here. And he takes two of his veteran guys and they keep going. They tell everybody else, make camp, chill, be quiet, because if we're too close, we got to figure something out.
Right.
And he takes two of his most seasoned guys, and they keep sort of venturing out. They find out after they go out, they end up getting within 100 meters of the actual Kawahiva camp, and they realize that where they've set up their camp is like 700 meters from them, which is kind of too close already.
Right, yeah, that's not. Hey, can you real quick just describe the Kawahiva, like what they look like?
Like Amazon Indians. They your typical sort of like grass skirts, mostly naked.
They carry like spears and bows and arrows. And stuff.
Bows and arrows primarily, probably spears too, but I know they're very bow and arrow heavy.
Any like ritualistic piercings that you saw in your research or anything like that?
I don't believe so. I know they do like the paint, like the red paint on the faces,
like the top half of their face.
Yeah. So I don't recall piercings.
Because I in my research, there were a couple of Amazon tribes that do like ritualistic piercings.
Right. Yeah, there are a lot. Yeah. There are a lot, and the discs.
The discs are a big thing. They also do those in Africa.
In Africa, yeah.
But I guess fucking Big League Chew has been a big deal throughout history. You just stick it.
Is that how they
stick in your lip? Yeah.
Airdropping Big League Chew on the Amazon.
Yeah, you figure you get those zins. Back in prehistoric times, they had zins too, but nobody could figure out how to open the container, so they just put the whole fucking disc, put the whole disc in the lip.
Jesus Christ, that was not fruit by the foot. That was bubble tape with the disc.
Put the whole fucking bubble tape.
Yeah, the whole bubble tape disc.
I miss bubble tape.
So, oh god, it was one of those gums that like after 30 seconds of chewing, you're like, well, there goes the flavor.
That's why you've got 100 feet of it.
So yeah, I'm up to 2 cans a day of bubble tape, man. Just fucking chewing all day.
I was really getting into Big League Chew, and then it ate through my fucking lip, and they had to remove part of my jaw. Baseball career's over.
Jesus Christ. So like I said, they get within 100 meters of the camp. They realize they are camped. The rest of their camp they left behind is about 700 meters. That's a little too close for comfort. But yeah, they stopped at about 100 meters, and they heard voices talking. Now, one of Kandor's...
They said, go back!
No, just people talking amongst themselves.
Joking.
They didn't know...
Ooh.
At this point, the Kawahiva don't know. Like, these are seasoned fucking Amazon expeditionists, right? These are conservationists that are in that jungle all the time. So they know how to move around without alerting a lot of shit, right? So one of Kandor's right-hand guys, his name is Manguita Amondawa, right? He wanted to get closer so he could hear, like to try and hear what they were saying and see if he could understand the language. Amondawa was part of an uncontacted tribe that got drawn out when he was a kid. So he's familiar with survival in the jungle, and his tribe's language, what they think is similar because it's from the same region.
Right.
They think that the languages are similar, are rooted in the same indigenous language.
Yeah, like a base vowel sound.
Right, his
like,
tribe and the Kawahiva tribe. So he's always part of the expedition. Like I said, he's one of Kandor's like right-hand men because if anything happens, at least we can try to have a dialogue. You know what I mean? So he's wanting to get closer and see, like, do I understand what, like, how well do I understand what they're saying? You know what I mean? Because we can hear them talking, but can't hear specifically. So let me get a little bit closer. Kandor's like, no, we have to head back. It's getting late. We can't be any closer. So they head back pretty late, and they get back to the camp, and Kandor's like, we're too close, but it's too late to move camp. So we've got to stay here and basically...
Shut the fuck up, everyone.
Yeah, basically hope they don't notice that we're here. And if they do notice and they attack, it probably won't be till like 5 a.m. or so. And they probably won't do that. But if they do, they probably won't shoot arrows at us. So like he's like... It can't be good for morale in the camp to be like, we're already too close. Shut the fuck up. We've got to stay here. Hopefully they don't attack us. And if they do, hopefully they don't shoot us with arrows.
There's also that sort of like ambiguity too, because it's like, we come in peace. So hopefully
Right.
We made contact with tribes before and there's no trouble, but you never know because we haven't talked to these guys. They might be very killy.
So this is happening, like I said, December of last year, December 2024. So in 2007, the Brazilian government told Jair Kandor to try and make contact with them because like pressure from ranchers and loggers, and like there was evidence that they were being chased from areas of their, the forest as the loggers were sort of encroaching. And so Jair went out to try and like contact them and just sort of be like, hi, hello. Probably had this Amandawa guy with him.
Right.
And they were pelted with rocks and chased from the forest.
Well.
And then Jair Kandor's boss tried to come and do the same thing. He's like, nah, you're not doing it right. Let me do it. Same outcome.
Yeah.
Pelted by rocks, chased from the forest.
Rocks aren't arrows.
Exactly. And that's why I think he was like, they probably won't shoot arrows at us.
Right.
Probably. So
I got another comment about that actually on the next tribe we talk about.
yeah, but so at that point, contact was abandoned. They were like, you know what, we tried. Like I don't know what
These
you really
guys
do.
are dicks.
No, I don't
they
know
throw
really,
fucking
what you
rocks
really
at us.
do because it's like, how do you explain to them? Because there have been numerous encounters with illegal loggers and illegal ranchers where Kawahiva people are shot and killed.
Right.
Women, children, they don't give a shit. These guys are armed to the fucking teeth and they're already doing illegal shit. They don't give a fuck. As far as they're concerned, this tribe we need this space. Get the fuck
in
out
many
of here.
cases, like
Fuck off or die.
illegal loggers will hire mercenaries.
Mercenaries,
and
100%.
And pistoleros
Yeah.
and shit that are hired specifically to shoot natives that they see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
even if they're not aggressive, it's just like, no, shoot them so they know.
So they abandoned contact. I think it must have been a tough decision because it's like, well, what do you do? They've got arrows and shit. They were at least nice enough to just throw rocks and chase us. But like, what happens if we keep doing this? Eventually arrows are going to
somebody's going to shoot an arrow. Yeah,
Exactly. So on this particular night, they get back to camp. Kandor's like, everybody shut the fuck up. Hopefully they won't notice that we're here. We're too close, but hopefully they won't notice and we won't get attacked. Nothing will happen. In the middle of the night, Amadawa gets up out of his hammock, quietly goes and wakes everybody in the camp, and then goes and sits by, there's like a smoldering fire. He goes and sits by the fire and just stares out into the darkness. And he's there alone for a second, and everybody's like, I don't know what he said to them. I don't have any details of what he said, but nobody else got up. He just went and like roused everyone and then went and sat by himself by the fire and just stared out. And he's sitting there for like a solid minute or two, everybody watching him. And then he turns toward the part of the woods closest to him and starts speaking in his native tongue, just into the darkness. And everyone could tell that there's like a weight to his voice. There's like an urgency, the way he's speaking, just out into the fucking, you got to think about how dark and like just animal noises and shit. And like, can you imagine just laying there and like this guy just woke you up from sleep and goes and sits by the fire and then turns and starts speaking out into the darkness in a language you don't understand. You have to know what's going on.
It's like they're out there.
So yeah, he says whatever he says. He gets up and he walks back to his hammock and he gets in. I'm guessing, I don't have any actual evidence of this, I'm guessing that nobody slept very well that night after that. But the next morning, everybody was like, "What, dude, what the fuck was that about?" And I'll read his direct quote. He said, quote, "They knew that we were here. He came close to our camp once and then again. The owl came. Their shaman sent him to our camp. I spoke to him in our language. I showed him that I'm an Indian like them. I said, these are good white people who didn't come to attack. He understood and went away." That is some fucking I grew up in the rainforest mystical ass shit.
The owl came.
Is the owl a scout? Is the owl an actual owl?
Just like a little addendum to that, I've been reading a lot of books. Or listen, I read some, I listen some. I got a lot of audiobooks on this Audible account. Right. But I've been listening to this book that isn't particularly great for the kind of research that I wanted to do for this episode. But also has been very helpful in understanding like contextualized stuff. It's called "Don't Sleep, There Are Snakes: Life and Language in the Amazonian Jungle" by a guy named Daniel Everett, who was a missionary in the Amazon. And he's spent like a decade with the Piranha tribe.
I hate that.
Well, his time with the Piranhas, actually, he left his religion.
Oh, that's the guy.
Yeah.
I do know this guy.
Right. He was a linguist.
Yeah, he went out as a missionary, and then he was like, they've got it more figured out than we fucking do.
He tells this one story of fairly early in his encounters, because he went out and he lived with this tribe, which is not an uncontacted tribe, but like a very isolated tribe.
Yeah.
And he's
which
a linguist.
A lot of them are.
Linguist trying to understand the language, which is very difficult. The book is really cool, especially the audiobook, in the way that he's got so many notations on the language and the way he's adapting it and listening to it and that process. That is, he also reads the book, so he does the actual verbiage and the sounds, and you get a feel for the language. It's very cool. He tells this one story of, multiple cool stories in general. It's just a fucking fascinating story. He tells stories about how they'd fucking go out in the river and play with river dolphins and shit, and like do like races with them in canoes, like they were friends.
That's awesome.
Which is fucking cool.
Yeah.
But he also likes to tell this story about occasionally, one particular time, the whole tribe would get really fucking agitated, and like they'd be like, everybody, be careful, be quiet, like, and they would, and they'd all like gather and look at something. And he said several occasions this happened, but one particular one he remembers. They're all like gathered on the beach, looking across the river, or on the shore, looking across the river at the other shore, and they're all like quiet and pointing and like, oh man. And he comes up to the one of his friends. He's like, what's going on over there? He goes, you don't see that? And he's looking at a completely empty shore. He's like, no, what is it? He goes, there's a river spirit on the shore right there. And like the whole tribe's like, how are you not seeing?
That's crazy.
He's like, it's right there. Like, don't make any big noises because it'll fucking kill us.
He forgot to drink the ayahuasca that day.
But it's like the whole tribe is just like, yeah, we see them sometimes. They're crazy.
That's cool
and
shit.
he just, like, one of the reasons he left his religion is like, there was absolutely something there. I have no fucking idea what it was. But it's not like they were all just collectively like making something up.
Right.
It was there. I just couldn't see it.
That's wild.
I like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
It's like a different universe.
Yeah, 100%. And like this guy, this Amandawa guy, like I said, that whole like hearing it, getting up, saying, hey,
he saw the owl.
Just wake up, just stay right here. And then going and doing all this. Like I said, that's some I grew up in this rainforest fucking shit. I have got indigenous South American blood in my veins. And if I was there, every fucking hair on my body would be like standing up like, oh my God, this is some crazy mystical fucking shit that I am too far removed from.
Well, it's like, imagine, we're pretty street savvy characters, but it's like, imagine being in a social situation where the mood is turning pretty like imperceptibly to anyone else there, but
something that you just don't.
Like,
you're saying you're the one who does understand.
You do understand. You're like, something's happened. Like the fucking mood of this party is shifting, and we need to fucking get out of here. Right. I've been in situations like that.
A ton of times.
I've had to be like, hey, stupid friends, we need to get the fuck out of here.
Bartending too.
Yeah,
bartending. I could be bartending in a bar with 300 people in it.
You can see,
and there's
just feel it. Something's happening.
Where you're like, some shit's about to pop off.
Yeah, but
and then within minutes, I see two people jawing at each other.
For the layman, they're not going to know anything about that. So. So that guy's in his hammock and he's just like, nah, I've seen that owl too many times.
Yeah. Well, so after this happens, again, this is the next morning, they basically pack up, they finish documenting their findings, and they start to head back, probably being watched the whole time. On this expedition, they estimate that the tribe is about 35 to 40 in number, like I said at the top, which is a good sign because they were estimated around 20 in 1999 when they were discovered by Jair Kandor, right? And in 2016, they were estimated as low as 15.
Wow.
So this last expedition was a good sign. It's not the last. It's Jair Kandor's last. Maybe
but
not
successful at least,
He doesn't seem like he's going to. I think he retired from the conservational organization. It's I can't remember. I didn't fucking put the name down. But it's like a government funded conservation.
Right.
I think he retired from that. I don't see reading about this guy. I don't see him just being like, well, I'm done with the rainforest.
Fuck these natives. I'm out of here.
So now for the shitty part. The Kawahivas area is not protected.
Yeah.
This has been an ongoing fight for 26 years, ever since Jair found them. Their municipality that they border is a town called Colniza, which is apropos because it's one letter off from Coloniza, which translates to colonize. 90% of the income from Colniza is from illegal logging and ranching, primarily illegal launching. And these motherfuckers make no attempt to hide the fact that they would love to wipe this fucking tribe out.
You just said illegal launching, and you fused the two words for logging and ranching. Which one was it?
Illegal logging, primarily.
There you go.
Illegal logging is the primary, but there's a lot of illegal ranching.
Illegal launching. They got a lot of like rocket ship setups.
I was thinking like a kayak launch.
Right.
Like they're just throwing kayaks into the river. Nobody's even in them. We're just fucking. Who cares? This is illegal. No, fuck it. So yeah, Coloniza is, by the way, one of the most violent places in Brazil. It's got the highest homicide rate in the country. It is the absolute fucking Wild West. If you look at photos, it's like dirt roads, little low buildings. Like if you pull up an image, like I said, you can see across, there's like an aerial photo. You can see across the whole fucking town. It's just this little fucking piece of shit, poor rural, even by poor rural Brazilian standards, it looks like a piss and dirt sort of place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's between like these frontier attitudes and the, illegal logging and ranching. This place is right on the edge of the rainforest. It's a fucking dangerous place. And like I said earlier, these guys are armed to the fucking teeth. They don't mind shooting these fucking people. There have been multiple incidents where they've murdered Kauaiva tribesmen. And in spite of all the legal protections that Brazil has in place for indigenous tribes, this shit has somehow lingered in the hellscape that is Brazilian bureaucracy.
Yeah.
There was an incident where several members were murdered and charges were brought, but nothing ever came of it. Nobody was ever held to account. So several indigenous tribesmen were fucking brutally gunned down.
Yeah, and it happens all
on
the time.
their own fucking
and
land.
those gunmen probably got a bonus for it.
Fucking ridiculous. So, like I said, Jair Candor is like front and center of getting this area protected because he's seen what happens to indigenous tribes that don't get permanent land protections. It's supposed to happen by the end of this year. We'll try and keep an eye on it and let you guys know if and when that happens. But as of right now, they have zero protection from essentially being wiped out. We've never done this before, but if you want to donate to charity, a charity specifically that focuses exclusively on helping indigenous populations, survivalinternational.org seems to be a good one. I don't usually like to do this shit like without vetting a charity, like what their charity rating is pretty strongly. I couldn't find anything critical of them. I found several articles of them being critical of the WWF, not the World Wrestling Federation. Yeah, they were like, fucking, after Owen Hart, how could you keep it going? No, the Worldwide Fund, who also...
World War Fun.
But yeah, they seem to do a stand-up job. They claim they use 97% of the money for tribal support, 3% for fundraising. So if you want to, you can go to their website. It's I already donated. You can go to the list of tribes they support. There's like about 19. You'll see the Kauaiva tribe. Yeah, man, there's a donate button up there, and you can do monthly or just a one-time. I did a $50 one-time. So, and that money will go directly toward holding these fucking fuckhounds accountable when they attack Kauaiva people, and it goes toward an ancestral fund that helps toward land protections and pushing the government to finally demarcate this land for them. I also found another one, globaljusticeecology.org, and you can donate to that, or they actually have a template for a letter to send to the Brazilian government. It's already written out, demanding that they hurry up and assess and demarcate this land for the Kauaiva people. Again, I won't do this often, but this has been sort of a point of pride for me for like my entire life as a Brazilian. And as someone who just has a lot of reverence and respect for the Amazon rainforest and the indigenous populations therein, since I was a kid, I can't remember a time where I haven't listened to horror stories about this area, literally as far back as I can remember. I don't know.
Yeah, me as well. Like, I'm obviously not as tied to Brazil and the South American continent as you are, but like, it's not like it's new to understand that the Amazon's getting fucked and all native tribes are in danger at all times.
Yeah, I mean, and these are an incredible people, and like losing an indigenous culture like this would be just a fucking insane tragedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
a tragedy that's been repeated thousands and thousands of times.
Not to mention an insane and preventable tragedy, which is the worst part. So, your boy gets passionate about some things. Like in my lifetime...
Passionate Patrick, we call him.
In my lifetime, 17 to 20% of the Amazon rainforest has been destroyed in my lifetime.
And that fucking sucks. It sucks.
The most biodiverse, I think we were talking about this the other day, overwhelmingly the most biodiverse fucking place on the planet. Do you know how many of the fucking medicines that we have come from plants that are only found in the Amazon?
Yeah, dude, I buy medicine from Amazon all the time.
Between the plant species and the animal species, there are so many things that are unique to the Amazon rainforest. And like I said, 17 to 20% in my lifetime in 40 years is pretty fucking tragic. So
yeah, it sucks. It sucks to know that we spent our entire lives knowing about like conservation emergencies and all this stuff, and right now at this moment is the worst and most critical time of fucking ecological disaster.
I remember
ever.
I specifically remember
it just keeps getting worse. We're all gonna die. The world's gonna die.
Did you guys have those like Scholastic weekly readers when you were in elementary school? Yeah,
constantly. I've mentioned them on this podcast before.
I specifically remember being in 5th grade, and we were doing our weekly reader, and we had one that was about Amazon deforestation. So I would have been 10, 11 years old?
Yeah, maybe.
Reading about this shit. And here we are 33, 34 years later, still talking about the same fucking bullshit.
Yeah, fucking Hoggish Greedley, man. Fucking Captain Planet went through all that shit for fucking nothing.
And we killed him. Oh God! Did
Yeah.
we kill Captain Planet? Did he die?
I mean,
Yeah. So yeah, that's my whole spiel for the Kawahiva, man.
should I roll on to another one, or you want me to hit my other Amazon tribe real quick?
Whichever you.
We can just roll right into it because I know you've got another Amazon tribe at the end, right?
No, I've got a.
Oh yeah.
I've got.
Okay,
a
well let
Papua
me
New Guinea.
just roll into my Amazon tribe. It's a tribe called the Awa.
Okay.
They are another one from the Amazon basin in the southwestern part near like Peru,
Okay.
right? They are they're a pretty prevalent.
Peru's got the second most, I
Yeah.
think, uncontacted.
Well, they're a very prevalent people in that area.
Mm-hmm.
The Awa have multiple different groupings. It's more of like a title of like, you know, in the area.
Okay.
It's the Awa, right? So it's an interesting case because some of them are contacted and are living a slightly more modernized life.
Okay.
But those ones, as a collective, are protecting the uncontacted ones.
Really?
Yeah, so the Awas, they talk about how they will see evidence of other Awas in their area and purposefully not fuck with them. You know?
Not to get too on this point because we will in a second, but there's a lot of that with the Korowai, which is my next
Right.
tribe. Nice, go ahead.
Yeah, so the Awas are being influenced the exact same way that we were just talking about, except they are on protected land for the most part.
Right.
Right, for the most part, they are living in a preserve and they're a protected tribe.
Good.
But ranching, illegal logging, all that kind of stuff creates this sort of like battle line.
Yeah.
Right, where their native territory is being encroached on, and they're nomadic. So it's the entirety of that area.
I think a lot of those tribes, I didn't get into it with the Kawahiva. I think it is because it's like by necessity.
Yeah, you
because there
can't-
is some evidence that they used to plant crops and stuff. But I think as they started being encroached upon, suddenly that culture changes within a matter of, most of these guys don't live like, past maybe middle age, 30 something, 40 years old. There's too many preventable things that they die of. I mean, honestly. So
snakes.
Snakes, disease,
Yeah.
Fucking dengue fever, fucking malaria, tuberculosis, like you name it.
There's just like it's a dangerous world in general, right? But like the thing with the Awa that has become interesting is they become kind of the forefront of the like politicized fight for indigenous rights in that part of the world.
Yeah.
Like the actor Colin Firth has done multiple PSAs and like they started a foundation for the Awa.
Interesting.
Yeah, like there's some names behind them at the moment, but it is definitely one of those situations where these small groupings of like we're talking like 10 people per tribe, right? They will lose a couple of members to illegal loggers hunting them or fucking like conflict with ranchers, and through that they'll end up contacting the outside world. They'll contact each other and they form a form of like collective shield. Because they know beyond the shield where ranchers and stuff are encroaching, they've got more of their own people that they've never met, but are living like by themselves.
That are actually living.
The estimates in the hundreds.
Okay.
So there are hundreds of people that are specifically being isolationist.
Right.
And the ones that have had no choice but to deal with the outside world are in that case letting them be isolationist.
Jesus.
Which has become pretty fascinating. There's a if you want to get on YouTube and look something up, there's like an hour-long documentary called Brazil's Awa Tribe: The Final Battle.
Okay.
Which is essentially about like the union of Awa tribes that are now talking to the world, organizing and going to government meetings, showing up as political entities, petitioning, talking to lobbyists.
Yeah, cool.
Like, yeah, but it's the cool thing is they, for the most part, they wear kind of whatever clothes, they are given. In the jungle, they wear polo shirts and shit, like whatever kind of shirts they can. I saw like one girl wearing like one of those little tight, roughly short skirts,
right?
But also titties out, just like fucking headdress.
Jesus Christ!
But they're very like in tune with nature kind of people, and
Sure.
they wear their traditional dress out of the jungle to go to these like rallies.
Okay, good.
So they'll be 70, 80 Awa tribesmen and women and children that like will get off a bus in a certain town where there's going to be a rally, and they will sing tribal songs and make themselves known on the way there, and then they will translate and lobby for like, hey, quit fucking with us, please.
That's badass.
Yeah, it's a very very publicly like forthright thing. But there's some interesting things about them that it kind of fit with all of your basic Amazonian tribe like stereotypes, I guess you could say, or like what we know most Amazonian tribes to do is the hunting and gathering,
Right.
the communal stuff. But one thing that the Awas do that I think is fascinating is they are very pet centric.
Okay.
And they invite animals to like live with them.
That's cool.
Right? So like you'll see frequently in an Awa village, there will be not just peccaries or, like whatever animals, but like any wounded birds or anything they find, instead of just eating them, they'll like rehabilitate them and have them be pets. There was footage of Awa tribeswomen breastfeeding monkeys and like small like jungle pigs.
Really?
Yeah. Like straight up just like breastfeeding monkeys. I'm like, yeah, they were kind of hurt and they're hungry, get some milk. So, but it's like, I've never seen anything like that. It was really kind of beautiful to see.
That's awesome.
Because it's like how we talk about being in touch with nature.
Yeah,
but
fuck
like,
no. Not compared to them.
God damn. Like
Not
that
compared to anybody who's living in it.
Yeah, and one tribeswoman's like, yeah, right now you can hear like a howler monkey. She's like, that's my pet. I breastfed him when he was small. And now he just
awesome.
He just lives in the area. He's my friend. The hunters won't hunt him.
Wow.
It's just like such a and this lady was wearing like a Nike jersey. It's like it's hard.
It's a Lionel Messi. It's
kind of hard to describe like the fusion of modern world to ancient world that happens in that like weird median.
No. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm familiar with, I don't know if you're familiar with the Brazilian chef, Alex Atala.
No, I'm not.
World-renowned chef. Amazing guy. I've met him. I've spoken to him. Really sweetheart of a guy. But if you've never watched the Netflix show Chef's Table.
Oh, I love Chef's Table.
There's an Alex Atala episode.
He's not the Patagonian food Yoda, is he, that lives on that little island in Patagonia?
No.
Because in like the first or second episode of Chef's Table, there's this like kind of chubby old guy who's world-renowned that has an island in Patagonia that he teaches people how to fucking like cook in the dirt.
That's badass. No.
There's this shot of this fucking guy. I'm sorry, but this is like my favorite thing ever. Chef's Table blew my goddamn mind.
It's an amazing show.
But there's like this old man, I mean, it's 65, 70 maybe. He takes his little wooden boat out onto a lake in Patagonia. He's got a little grill attached to his boat, and he catches a fish, and he fucking clocks it with the oar, skins it and cooks it right there, and like pours himself a glass of like fucking $1,000 wine or something.
Badass.
It's just like, and just eats his fish out on the water and like the mist. Like, oh God.
That's being in tune with nature.
Fuck yeah.
Alex Atala, I think, it might have been the first episode of the second season, if I remember correctly, or one of the first. Amazing chef, amazing guy. He does stuff with contacted Amazonian tribes. He's got a couple of brands of things that are, I can't even remember if it's cocoa or what it is, but it's something from the Amazon that he like gives almost all the money to these Amazonian tribes to like just for conservational reasons, for whatever. Like he's very much partnered with these tribes. And so like I've seen stuff where he goes in and like he goes to these tribes, he goes to like rides a boat down the fucking river and jumps off and they're all like, hey, what's up? And like, and he like hangs out and like they go and do stuff together and it's really
That's
fucking
cool. Can you imagine just pulling up to a tribe in the jungle in a boat and they're like, hey!
I would love that. That would be fucking
crazy.
Cool as shit, dude.
Yeah, I mean, so many tribes, especially South American tribes, have been like damaged by people who are hunting for like cocoa. Cocoa specifically has been such an issue. Yeah. I mean, just ask the Oompa Loompas. Wonka rolled in there like a fucking demon. He's like, not only am I going to take your chocolate, I'm going to enslave you and make you work in a factory.
They were an Amazonian tribe.
I think of the Johnny Depp one.
Were they really?
Well, the thing from the book,
the Roald Dahl book.
Yeah,
no, not Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl.
Roald Dahl. Yeah, but his name is something else. Actually, it's like Rosa. I can't remember the way you're supposed to pronounce it. But yeah, Roald Dahl. His thing is the Oompa Loompas were addicted to chocolate.
Yeah, I don't care. That book is racist.
Yeah, book is racist.
They're like little black pygmies in the book.
Something like that.
Yeah, they are. The Oompa Loompas are like little African pygmies.
Yeah, I'm more of a great glass elevator guy myself. Anyway,
okay.
So that's I think that's the Amazon take in general.
Okay.
The Awa are still fighting. They are considered the most endangered tribe in the world right now.
Wow.
But specifically because they're coming out into the light. Like it's the kind of situation where illegal loggers are pissed off that the tribesmen are coming out and petitioning and making their shit known because now like, oh fuck, now we're in trouble for logging over here.
Yeah.
Because the area is protected. So like they're fucking now
the
they're
qualifier illegal is in the front of what you're doing. Shut the fuck up.
Now much like the poachers we talked about in the Trimates episode, now they're getting pissed and they're trying to like seeking out retribution against the tribesmen.
Christ.
You know, there are multiple tribes people that are interviewed in that little documentary on YouTube that are like, yeah, you know, my sister, my brother, my fucking father have all been shot.
Fucking murdered.
Yeah.
God damn it.
And they're still just wearing their Air Emeritus jerseys, just fucking trekking through the jungle. But like, yeah, they're coming out every day. Like, fuck it,
Manchester
but
fan.
without exception, they to a person, they're all like, yeah, we don't know what the future's gonna do. I mean,
That's
maybe
nuts, man.
you can't kill the jungle because it kills us, but I mean, they also maybe just kill us. So we'll see.
Or both.
Yeah, and then recently,
Or probably both.
Recently, some of the more outspoken members were known to have caught COVID, but there's not any reports on how they did. So like, it's a rampant disease kind of.
Well, and so for the people who aren't aware, like as lush and green and biodiverse as the Amazon rain or any rainforest, honestly, is, the soil is not particularly good.
No.
In rainforest. Rainforest soil is not fertile for much of anything.
Fun fact, a complete side note, sort of. There's a lot of evidence that ancient Amazon tribes, talking hundreds, thousands of years ago, would make this thing called black soil that was like a mixture of like fish bones and stuff like that. That
Composting. They
was
were
essentially,
effectively,
but like a particularly strong compost that would like help them grow and cultivate stuff in the Amazon.
So what happens when all these acres and acres and acres and acres are deforested, or, well, typically deforested and then used for ranches, is that soil is shot. You know, that portion of the rainforest is not going to come back. Most of what's there right now has been there for fucking thousands of years. And the reason all that thing grows, all those things grow so well, is because of just these thousands of years of just detritus and, you know, decomposing leaves and branches. That
Humus.
shit, that shit grows, you know, things grow out of that, but it takes a long fucking time. And so that's the big issue with sort of single-mindedly deforesting these areas, is like, you lose it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like a pine farm where you go, okay, we're going to take these 10 rows out and then we're going to plant those 10 rows over there. And then, you know, like you can sort of circular, whatever they call it.
Yeah, the Amazon, it would be a particularly hard, even if like we removed everyone from the area, it'd be a particularly hard regrow. Like it would be.
Oh, no.
It would
and not
take
to mention
generations.
That it's a huge carbon sink too, you know. So there's a lot of reasons why everybody should pretty much be on. I don't care who you are, man. Like I don't care what you think about climate change or any of this shit. Like just from a purely magical standpoint, just a pure reverence of a gigantically, like I said, overwhelmingly most biodiverse place in the planet. I feel like how can anybody be like, fuck it?
So like that South Park episode?
I'm sure there are people who are like, fuck the rainforest.
Yeah.
But like
that South Park episode, the fucking
familiar.
the rainforest totally sucks. You know that one?
No, but we're gonna find out. Should we drop it? Should we tell people?
But that the rainforest sucks?
No, that we're gonna do it.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
We are currently in the process of planning a trip to the Amazon rainforest. I don't know when it's going to happen. Right now, we're just like very early in the planning stages. But
I think right now we were kind of looking at like September, October if we can, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that would be fucking incredible.
That would be crazy.
September would be badass.
I'm going to bring some like Adidas merch down there, specifically for the Awa people.
Just like leave it on a tree.
Yeah, you guys are gonna like
with
these.
a sign that says,
"This is for you."
Yeah.
But I don't know how to spell it. No, we're gonna not contact shit.
This one says Cristiano Ronaldo, and here are some stats about him as a footballer.
No, we're going to go down to what's the name of the
Manaus is the city that we would fly into, which is a completely like in the middle of the rainforest city.
Yeah.
It's only accessible by air or water.
We'll be there for cultural analysis and like observation, and so we're not going to contact any fucking tribes.
Yeah, we are going to do I think, what did we talk about, 4 or 5 days in the rainforest?
Yeah, I'm cool.
And video the shit out of that. And so, stay tuned.
So the thing about the Amazon tribes that I think is interesting is, well, not interesting, tragic but cool, is that the reason that they're being encroached on so heavily is for resources, essentially.
Right.
Yeah, farmers want the land, loggers want the trees.
Right.
You know, and pharmaceutical corporations want like the materials you can get out of the trees and minerals from the jungle and shit like that. But I want to switch gears to a tribe that nobody wants to encroach on at all because they ain't got dick.
Go for it.
Hey folks, Drew here. So this episode ran long. The boys were excited. They went over a lot of really interesting information and told a lot of really stupid jokes. So many, in fact, that by the end we realized we'd have to split this into 2 parts. So we will be back next week for the thrilling conclusion of Uncontacted Tribes. In the meantime, Patrick usually does this, but he did not record one for this episode. If you like this episode or any of our episodes, hop onto whatever platform you're listening on and engage with us. It does mean a lot when you do, whether it's comments on Spotify or ratings on Apple Podcasts or any of those sites. They usually all have some kind of engagement function. Please utilize that. Rate us 5 stars or leave a dumb comment or whatever. We love all that stuff. The guys put a lot of effort into research and dick jokes, and I put a lot of effort into trying to get the recordings from inside this tin shed to sound good. We want to keep doing it, and we will, either way. But every time we hear from you, it does put a little wind in our sails. So we thank you for that when we do. You can also talk to us directly at deleteeverythingpodcast@gmail.com. We do respond to everything. Let's be real, I'll respond. We've got Instagram. We've got, Blue Sky that we don't know how to use yet. Just search Delete Everything Podcast on either of those. Same with YouTube. All the episodes are available there, along with a little bit of video. More to come soon. We're working on that. If you like your podcast shaken and not stirred, our Patreon episodes were all violently shaken at birth. Anytime you see bonus episode on the main channel, that's a bit of a sneak preview of the Patreon. It's one that somehow got out of containment. They're usually roughly around 45 minutes or so. Some go up to an hour, some are a little shorter. You can find all 40 or so of those at patreon.com/deleteeverythingpodcast. It's a little icky in there, but it's for sure hysterical. I think I got everything. If not, Patrick will definitely let me know when he gets back. Please send help.